My name is Danielle Ashford. I'm 32 years old, and I work as a guidance counselor at a middle school here in Charleston. Kids come to my office when nobody else will listen to them, when they feel invisible in their own house. I never thought I'd need my own advice. 3 weeks ago, at my parents' annual spring cookout, my mother handed out 5 garment bags to 5 granddaughters. Prom season was coming, and she'd promised months back that every girl in the family would get her dress paid for. $200 each. No strings. My daughter Maya stood right there in the driveway, waiting for hers. There wasn't one. My mother just kept moving down the line. Kristen's girls first, laughing, tearing at the tissue paper. And when she got to Maya, she simply turned to the cooler and asked if anyone wanted more lemonade. Like my daughter wasn't standing 3 feet away in a sundress, smiling the way kids smile right before they understand something. I watched Maya's face change in real time. That's the part I can't unsee. 14 years old, and she did the math faster than any adult in that yard. My father cleared his throat and said, "We just figured Maya would rather pick her own. You know how she is." I know how she is. She's quiet. She doesn't ask for things, which apparently in my family means she doesn't get things. I didn't raise my voice. I've spent 11 years in a windowless office, learning that the loudest reaction is never the one that actually gets remembered. I just walked over, put my hand on Maya's shoulder, and said, "We're heading out early tonight." My mother's smile didn't even move. "Don't make this bigger than it is, Danielle." I looked at her for a long moment. "Noted," I said. And I meant it in a way she wouldn't understand for another 3 weeks. Here's what nobody in that driveway knew. What I found out 2 Tuesdays later, sitting in my car outside Maya's dance studio, staring at a bank notification I'd read 4 times, just to be sure I wasn't misreading it, would turn one missing prom dress into something my entire family is still trying to explain their way out of. Because it was never really about $200. It was about what my parents had been quietly doing with my name for the last 6 years. And how one overlooked 14-year-old girl was about to become the reason the whole thing finally came apart. I didn't know it yet, standing in that driveway with my hand on my daughter's shoulder. I just knew something in my chest had gone very still. The kind of still I feel right before I have to tell a parent something they don't want to hear. I drove Maya home that night, and she didn't cry. She just looked out the window and asked one question I still haven't fully answered. "Mom, why does Grandma only see the kids who make noise?" I didn't have an answer for her then. 3 weeks later, I did. Let me back up, because you need to understand who I am before you understand what I found. I've been divorced for 4 years. Maya's father moved to Ohio for work and calls on Sundays, which is its own kind of steady, even if it isn't much. I bought a small house on Palmetto Lane, with a yard just big enough for a swing set Maya's outgrown, but won't let me take down. I budget everything. I mean everything. Groceries, gas, the orthodontist. Counselor's salary doesn't stretch far in this city, but it stretches if you're careful. 6 years ago, my father had a small stroke. Nothing that left lasting damage, thank God. But it scared all of us enough that my mother asked me to help get his finances organized. I was the responsible one, the one with good credit, a steady job, a clean history. So I sat at their kitchen table and signed what she called just a formality, a joint account in case anything ever happened to him again, something to make sure the bills got paid without a hospital delay. I trusted her. She's my mother. That Tuesday night, sitting outside Maya's dance studio, waiting for class to let out, I got a notification from my bank app, a low balance alert, which made no sense because I hadn't touched that joint account in years. I opened it out of pure confusion. The balance was $11. I stared at it so long, the screen dimmed twice. I scrolled up. Withdrawals I never made. A payment to a landscaping company in my parents' neighborhood. A payment to a country club I've never once set foot in. A payment dated the week before the cookout for $500 to a boutique called Bella's Formal Wear, the same boutique that made those 5 garment bags. I sat in my car with my hands on the wheel and did what I always do when something doesn't add up. I got quiet. Not angry yet, just quiet. The way I get when a kid in my office tells me a story that doesn't match the bruise. I called the bank the next morning before work. The woman on the phone, kind but careful with her words, confirmed what I already suspected. The account had been active for 6 years, funded mostly by transfers from my own paycheck. Automatic ones I'd set up once, for emergencies, and never once thought to check again. Nearly $40,000 had moved through that account since it opened. $40,000. I hadn't approved a single withdrawal past the first year. "Ma'am," she said gently, "there's also a secondary card holder on this account. Would you like me to read you the name?" I already knew the name. I just needed to hear someone else say it out loud, so I'd know I wasn't imagining the whole thing. "Yes," I said. "Read it to me." And when she did, I finally understood why Maya didn't get a prom dress that Saturday. There simply wasn't anything left to spend on her. The name the bank teller read out loud was my mother's, Eleanor. I sat outside that dance studio for a long time after I hung up. Maya came out in her leotard, hair still damp at the temples, and climbed into the car, asking if we could stop for smoothies. I said yes, because some things a 14-year-old shouldn't have to carry while her mother figures out how to breathe. That night, after Maya fell asleep, I printed 6 years of statements at my kitchen table. Nurses chart before they diagnose. I don't know where I picked that up, but it's how I've always worked a problem. Write down what's true, in order, before you decide what it means. So I charted. The country club dues, the landscaping. A cruise deposit from 2 summers ago. The one my parents came back from with matching sunburns and a photo album they showed at every dinner for a month. And running underneath all of it, quieter than the big purchases, but just as steady, were the small ones. Birthday gifts for Kristen's kids. School fundraiser checks. A new phone for one of my nieces, the receipt dated the same week Maya was still using a cracked screen I kept meaning to replace. Every single line had been paid for with money that started in my paycheck. I want to be honest about something. I didn't cry over the number. I cried over one line item, dated 3 weeks before the cookout. $500 to Bella's formal wear. Split into what the receipt called family order, 4 dresses. 4, not 5. They hadn't just skipped Maya buying the dresses. They'd budgeted her out before they ever walked into that store. I called my mother the next morning, and I kept my voice level, the way I do when I'm about to tell a parent something that's going to rearrange their whole week. I asked her, plainly, why there was a card in her name attached to my account. She didn't deny it. That's the part that still sits strange in my chest. She simply said, Danielle, you make more than your sister does. We've always evened things out where we could. That's just how families work. You used my money to buy dresses for everyone except my daughter, I said. There was a pause, and then she said the sentence I've replayed more times than I'd like to admit. Maya didn't need a store-bought dress to feel special. She has you. Kristen's girls need the extra push. I sat with that for a long moment. Not because I didn't understand it, I understood it perfectly. My daughter had been quietly written out of her own grandmother's math because she never once complained loud enough to be accounted for. I didn't yell. I didn't hang up angry. I simply asked her one question. And I asked it the way I'd ask a parent to confirm something serious. Does Dad know the account is in your name and mine? The silence on the other end of that phone told me everything the ledger never could. My father didn't know. That much became clear the moment I drove over and asked him myself, standing in his garage while he wiped down a lawnmower he didn't need to clean. He set the rag down slowly. Your mother handles the accounts, Danielle? She always has. Then his face changed. The way a man's face changes when he's doing math he didn't know he needed to do. 40,000? I nodded. He didn't defend her. He just sat down on the step stool by his workbench and put his head in his hands for a long moment. And I let him have that moment, because some things a person has to sit with alone before they can say anything useful. I didn't file a police report. I want to be honest about that because some of you would have. I'm not that person, and this isn't that kind of story. I called the bank instead, closed the joint account, and opened a new one with my name only, my name alone on every line. I sent my parents one message, calm and short. I'm removing myself from the account. I'm not angry at either of you, but I need to be able to trust my own name again. My mother called 11 times that week. I let most of them go to voicemail, not out of spite, but because I needed the quiet to figure out what came next. What came next was smaller than anyone expected, and it mattered more than anything else in this whole story. I took Maya to Bella's formal wear myself the following Saturday. Not out of spite either. I'd been saving for a kitchen renovation for 2 years. Cabinets mostly. Nothing glamorous. And I decided the cabinets could wait one more season. Maya tried on 6 dresses. She stood in front of that 3-way mirror in a pale blue one with a little bit of shimmer at the hem. And she didn't ask if it cost too much. She just looked at herself like she was seeing something she hadn't expected to find. This one, she said quietly. I paid for it myself in full, and I have never felt richer writing a check. My parents came to prom send-off photos 3 weeks later. My mother brought a corsage, and she hugged Maya a little longer than usual. And neither of us said anything about the account because some conversations are better finished in private, one quiet choice at a time, rather than out loud in front of a 14-year-old in a blue dress. My father pulled me aside on the porch before they left. I'm having my name put back on everything, he said. All of it. So this never happens again, to you or to her. It wasn't a grand apology. It was just him doing the only thing he actually knows how to do, fixing what's broken, quietly, with his hands. Maya still doesn't know the whole story, and I don't think she needs to. What she knows is simpler than that. She knows that when nobody else saw her standing in that driveway, her mother did. And that, in the end, was worth more than any dress $200 could ever buy.